Hello friends and folks, my name is Joanna, I'm the Polish folk witch, and today I felt like coming to you with another video from the series Ask a Folk Witch. Before we continue with the topic itself, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed to the YouTube channel that you are watching this on. And as usual, if you're a patron, you are watching this in advance because my patrons get early access to all of my YouTube videos. So if you are interested in checking that out, all of the links are in the description box below. So a while back, I opened my inbox for anonymous questions that you would like me to answer in terms of folk magic or witchcraft broadly speaking, and I am still kind of going through them very slowly. And today I'm going to tackle another one of those questions that caught my attention. How to find the right spirits to work with if we aren't into Christianity. And this caught my eye because I thought my initial reaction was, well, if you aren't into Christianity, that's making it way easier for you if you were into Christianity. So I would like to tackle this first and explain what I mean by that. The thing is that if you are Christian, then that means you believe in and worship the Christian God. And from my perspective as a non-Christian or ex-Catholic, it appears to me that the Christian God in general is rather jealous and doesn't like it when people who claim to be his followers or believers venture out there too much in terms of spirit work. So what you can see most often is people who are Christian practitioners in particular would usually be working with the kind of Christian plethora of allowed spirits like the angels or saints or Mary, spirits from that kind of side of the spectrum, right? It's especially commonly advised in the Christian magic circles that you need to choose to work either with the heavenly or the infernal. You can't do both, you can't mix those things, right? And you need to follow a series of rules and taboos in line with the Christian faith. The thing is that those rules do not apply to you if you are not Christian and if you do not worship the Christian God. So that alone opens up a lot of possibilities for you. If you aren't Christian, does that mean that you can't work with saints or with Mary? Not at all. They are out there for everybody to incorporate into your practice. The reason for this is that this religion is one of the main colonizer religions of the world, and it colonized countless cultures across the globe. The religion can't close itself from the people that it colonized in the first place. Unfortunately, that's how it works. So if you aren't Christian, you still can work with some of those spirits if they are open to it in a non-Christian way. This could be potentially problematic because many of those spirits are mostly used to being addressed within the Christian paradigm, within the Christian religion. So just for convenience sake, many of those spirits might not be your type of spirits, and that's okay. But some of them are really very versatile and can be tackled from a different than Christian perspective. At least that's my take on it. I know many people would disagree, especially those who are Christian practitioners. They would probably see this as offensive. But the thing is that their rules do not apply to me or you if you aren't Christian. And there's quite a lot of heretical practices that stem from folkloric magic, which are very well documented in the sources for you to discover, really, if you don't know them already. But outside of the whole Christian spectrum of spirits, which are in one way or another directly connected to Christianity as a faith, the majority of spirits that are known and recognized out there in the world aren't related in any way to the Christian faith. So if you aren't Christian, as I said, the doors are wide open for you in terms of discovering which spirits you might want to work with. The answer I can give you is from a folk magic and also animist perspective, because I do not believe that it's okay for us to be just drawing from many cultures at the same time without any limits and like mixing pantheons to the point where you work with 10 different deities from 10 different cultures. I believe that that's very human-centric and not appropriate in a kind of cultural sense. So what I would advise is to generally try and narrow down your focus. If you are looking for spirits to work with, what I would personally turn to is where you live, where you are in the world, and what your ancestry is. Those are usually the two main components that make it easier for you to narrow things down. Does it mean that you have to narrow things down in this way? Not necessarily. However, that's my approach and something that I personally favor. So I am biased in this particular direction. So if you don't jive with this, of course, feel free to skip my advice. But the way I personally approach things like this is that I would look to the land, to the local spirits, and spirits of the land or spirits of nature around me, broadly speaking, are quite diverse in terms of, what you're trying to do and whom you're trying to form an allyship for specific purposes. So I know that many people approach spirit work in a very kind of transactional way where it's just, I want to achieve this, therefore I need to work with this spirit for just this one particular purpose and not really pursue any long-term allyship or relationship with spirits. That's fine, that's none of my business. I generally tend to form longer-term relationships with spirits. I just find it to be more grounded, and it pays off in the long run to be having a long-term relationship with a spirit that you know well, that you had many situations with where you were able to give something to each other back and forth. So the trust is already there. You know how it's going to work out, you know each other's needs and so on. So it's kind of like with friendships, right? If you don't know somebody well, there might be some caveats that you are not aware with or vice versa, right? So it's just kind of a trial and error thing, I think. But when it comes to land spirits, broadly speaking, I'm not talking about deities right now. We know that the natural world is very diverse and shaped into various realms or various domains. And those domains are inhabited by spirits of the nature of the place, right? So you will find different spirits underground, in caves, in tunnels, in dark spaces. You will find different spirits in rivers or lakes or ponds or other water sources. You will find different spirits in the skies, in the clouds, in the wind, and you will find different spirits living in forests or near particular plants or near particular buildings even, and man-made structures as well. There's many domains that you can think of in this way. And for each of those domains, they can be seen as something that characterizes the spirit's abilities, the spirit's interests, and the things that the spirit can affect, which is within that domain, right? So we can think of it this way, like, for example, spirits that are more of the qualities of the air, of heavens, of clouds, of winds, and so on, would be great for very mercurial matters, for intellectual matters, for learning, for passing messages, communication, and so on. Whereas, for example, chthonic spirits, spirits of the earth, of the soil, of underground spaces, would be more suitable to work with for money, for abundance, for health, for matters of finding treasure or grounding yourself in some way, right? So you can kind of think of it this way, like just observing the world and what you would find for yourself in each of those spaces, in each of those domains. Taking it further, that is where you will find the kind of spirits that will correspond to those domains because they come from those domains. I hope you're following what I'm trying to say here. This is a very animist and very kind of straightforward, down to earth, some would say primitive way of looking at it, but I find it to be very enriching and in line with the local folklore a lot of the times. So if I'm looking for a particular spirit to work with, I will oftentimes look to the folklore, to the local legends of the place that I'm looking to form a relationship, and thus the spirits of that place to form a relationship with. And a lot of the times that's where I would find the answers of how to approach them, what they are like, what they enjoy, the kind of stories that they may have been involved with, and so on. So that gives me a lot of clues to form those relationships, right? Other than that, going a step further, you would see planetary correspondences. That's what many people use across different paradigms and paths within witchcraft and occultism, from folk magic all the way up to ceremonial magic. So planetary correspondences are very popular. This is not my first choice, to be honest, and not something that I concern myself with too much. I'm not too much into astrology and heavenly realms personally. And so the planetary correspondences, I tend to look at them when I'm missing something or when I find it hard to find enough information without this lens. But I know this is something that many people turn to like in the first place, right? So depending on the planetary correspondence of a spirit, you will know that spirits of mercurial nature will be good as psychopomps, as those who pass on information, who help with learning, but also with conflict, stuff like that. And you will know that Martian spirits are very good for more aggressive workings, or, Venusian spirits would be great for love matters. The spirits of Jupiter would be great for finances, right? And so on and so on. You get the idea, hopefully. If you are not looking actually to find spirits of the land in your immediate environment, the easiest way to find a suitable spirit to work with you for a specific purpose or even to form a relationship is to look up those planetary correspondences and which spirits belong to those domains. Some spirits, and many of the spirits, will belong to multiple. So that only makes sense because nobody is one-dimensional, and that includes spirits. They are multi-dimensional beings just as we are. So, and I think these two ways of approaching it, so either turning to the land and the folklore or to the planetary correspondences, for me personally, is usually enough to figure out which spirit I might want to work with, honestly. Sometimes what also happens, but I'm sure if you experience this, you will know, is that spirits will approach you. That's not something that's super common, definitely not as common with deities as people like to portray online, with everybody having some kind of ancient deity come up to them and be interested in them because they are obviously so unique and special out there, right? That's not as common as people make it to be. But it does happen that spirits, especially local spirits, but not always local, will come up to you and address you for, collaboration on something. And that often happens with local spirits because they know that you are in the space, in the place that they are, and you might potentially be interested in working on the same goals as them. So the way they will come up to you is in visions, in dreams, and through other signs and omens that you can observe around you, as well as, divination, trance, and so on, obviously. So for every situation like that, you need to make a choice whether you agree to the collaboration or long-term relationship or not. I personally find it an honor to be approached, and I usually agree unless there's something that I kind of can't reconcile with the spirit on in terms of like values, needs, or goals, So that's how I approach it. Hope this helps you in any way. Let me know if you have any questions, or let me know how you approach this, okay? Let's swap some information and see how others do this as well. So anyway, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully see you around soon. Bye.